Welcome to FEO on the Air, the voice of the festivals and events industry in Ontario. This week, it's Experience Ontario with your host, FEO CEO Dave MacNeil.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of FEO on the Air. This time, we're talking about Experience Ontario, and we're down in the beautiful area of Ontario's Southwest, RTO1, and joining us is the CEO, Executive Director, Joanne Wolnik. Joanne, welcome.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
For those that might not know about your area, can you give us your tourist elevator speech that you would talk about at different conferences or trade shows and just explain a little bit to our listeners about the area?
Yeah, absolutely. Ontario Southwest is the southernmost point of Ontario. So we go from Windsor up to Grand Bend, and then we cross over through Lambton, Oxford, Middlesex, London, Woodstock, down to most of Lake Erie, the North Shore of Lake Erie, so up until the region of Niagara, so right until the end of Haldimand County. It's a beautiful area. It's so rich in so many different things. We've got a nice mix of urban centers, smaller urban centers like London, Windsor, Sarnia, and then we've got a lot of urban centers as well. The thing that I love about Ontario Southwest that seems to be consistent throughout is that people within the industry here are here because they love it. They are here because they are passionate about something and they want to share that with other people. And they find some incredible ways to share those things with travelers and people that care. So I'll stop there. If you've got some other questions, I'm more than happy to dig in a little bit deeper on those.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about the area, and I have to admit that I vacation in your region, so I'm a fond traveler to that area. I really call it Ontario's secret gem because there really is so much to do. And there's, whether you want to go on a wine tour, you want to go to microbreweries or, just travel down the lake shore to different small, harbor communities. The vastness of the region is such an incredible area.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What you're going to find in Amherstburg is going to be completely different than what you're going to find in Port Dover or downtown London. There's such a variety of things to do, places to go. We're one region and we have this amazing collection of experiences that we get some really good feedback on and what people really love about it. And one of the things that consistently comes back is that people love the outdoors, the nature opportunities. And when you think about Southwestern Ontario or Southern Ontario, you might not be thinking about the outdoors, but truly there's so many opportunities to access the water, to access whether it be Lake Erie or the Grand River, the Thames River, or any of the tributary rivers, or whether it's going camping, amongst the Carolinian forest, which we know to be one of the most diverse ecosystems in Canada. And so there's so many things that come along with that, like the bird migration that we're seeing now in the spring. We'll see it again in the fall. And this is, of course, some pretty amazing places where birds drop as they migrate, but then also as they land after going across Lake Erie in most parts. So many different varieties of things to do and just ways to access nature. And then the other thing that we know that people are really enjoying about Ontario Southwest is the small town charm. And so we have some beautiful communities that are doing incredible things. And we know that that's what a lot of people to Ontario Southwest are looking for and really enjoy about the region.
And from a culinary point of view, you're farm to table, and I mean, you're right in the heart of farmland, and stop in and get this time of year the fresh asparagus and the different restaurants and culinary experiences throughout the area. It's top notch.
100%. We've got a longer growing season than other parts of Ontario. So we've got this rich terroir for producers, whether they be grape growers, hop producers, other crops like asparagus, strawberries. We see a lot of those crops come in sooner, and they last longer because we then have a longer growing season on the other end too. And from a terroir and soil perspective, it's incredibly rich. We've got a rich tobacco growing history that has translated into a rich wine growing environment as well. On top of that, we've got the Lake Erie North Shore wine appellation, where we've got just fabulous quality of grapes and wine producers. And then when I think about producers being in Ontario Southwest, and then you look at the chefs and the people that are creating these things with the products that are created, when they're neighbors, when you've got your neighbor or your chef as a neighbor to your farmer, you've got some incredible conversations, partnerships that are happening that allow for some pretty creative creations, which is what we see across the region as a whole.
And the other beautiful thing, not to knock any other regions, is it's fairly easy to get to. You're not waiting and you're not backed up on a 400 series highway. I'm thinking from Kitchener, for example, I can be in Port Dover in an hour and 15 minutes reliably, whether it's a long weekend or a regular weekend, it's an hour and 15 minutes. So that's the beauty of the area that I think a lot of people don't think about, is that travel time getting to those experiences, whether it's a lake shore or just a mainland thing. It's easy to get to.
Yeah, the roads are pretty reliable. We know we don't have, in most cases, we don't see that backlog of traffic that people might be used to if they're going to other parts, or if they're, regularly commuting through some of the stuff. It's reliable, it's accessible. We've also got some great public infrastructure through via rail and other systems. So it is very accessible as a destination, whether you're coming from Ontario or coming in from the United States as well, with a couple border crossings.
And while it might not be perfect, I think even like the IT infrastructure and the internet access is getting better than it was 5 years ago. I've noticed that the coverage and the reliability is a lot better now. So and keeps on getting better. So work on that is still underway.
Yeah, we're always grateful for improvements as it relates to connectivity. Of course, that's for rural Ontario. I think that's fair for most of the province. But yes, to your point, it's definitely improving, and we're grateful for investment that happens as it relates to keeping people connected.
Well, thanks very much, Joanne. We might pop back into you for a few questions, but we've also got Darren Winger here. Darren's the Regional Development Advisor for the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Gaming in your area, and he's got with him 4 festivals that happen in Ontario Southwest. Darren, I'm going to throw it over to you to introduce your guests, and let's talk about some of those festivals happening in that region.
Sure, thanks, Dave. And Joanne, just add on to what Joanne's saying. In my area, in Windsor, Essex, Chatham, Kent, Sarnia, Atlantic, we're pretty flat. So it's great for cycling tourism too, and attending festivals in the area. And also, I'll be talking about some festivals in Windsor, Essex, and Chatham, Kent, and just giving a shout out to a Chatham, Kent graduate I see on the line, Tina Myers. Hi, Tina. Great to see you. We got to catch up soon. It's interesting when you talk about festivals, and I sort of wanted to give a nice little blend that's going on in Windsor, Essex, and Chatham, Kent. We talk about local, emerging, and mature festivals, and I think we have a really good blend amongst the 4 that we're going to talk to. We have 2 that'll sort of bookend the conversation that are more of that local, that have grown into that emerging, where they're beyond local. They have a tourism focus now. They're attracting people 40K out. And then the middle 2 are more the mature, that have been around a long time. Processes are set in place. Things flow pretty well, and they are a really strong tourist draw. So as we go through, we're going to start in Windsor with Sean at Scare House, and then we're going to go around the lake from the Detroit River to Amherstburg to the open air. Then we're going to keep going down the lake to Leamington of Lake Erie for Hogs of Hospice, and then we'll end up in Chatham, Kent at Red Martin Brewing with Denny. So Sean, the floor is yours to talk about Scare House Windsor.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm still kind of new to this festival experience and learning all your acronyms. You guys had so many acronyms. I think I mentioned that to Joanne. I was like RTOs and DEVs and DO. I have no clue what a lot of them stand for, but it's fun to be part of. Let's put it that way. Scaro started in 2008. It was a fluke. It was a bankruptcy that we were going through, and we needed to come up with a quick way to figure out how we were going to use a building. And the building was an old bar that we turned into a haunted house, and it didn't matter what we were going to do with it because honestly, it was all being destroyed anyways. The bank was taking it, so it kind of gave us that freedom to do what we wanted. And here we are, just shy of 18 years later, and now we're working on expanding out on it. We bought a new building; it's 40,000 square feet, and we started getting a lot of recognition as soon as we decided to do what we do best. Our background was hospitality and restaurants, and we started to fuse it, not on purpose. It just started happening that way, and our building became really a unique experience in the fact that we decided that we wanted to start doing dinners inside the haunted house, and we started making that happen, and we started doing storytelling, and theater became part of it. And then we have a technical background because we have animatronics, and things started to move. And as soon as we accepted the fact that we wanted to be unique, that's when things kind of took off. And now we're working on the festival, which is October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The city came to us and said, hey, is there a way that you could put together a parade? And we did, and we decided to put it in, and we partnered up with this crazy event called the Zombie Walk, and just hundreds of families get together and they just do this crazy walk, and the city embraced it. And so now we're incorporating that, and now we're bringing in floats, and we're just making it happen. And okay, what can we do on the Friday night? And we decided to make it a zombie prom, and then on the Sunday let's wrap it up with like a really good kids event. And the selfish side of us was like, well, let's find a way that we can bring in a bunch of like little kids and not scare the crap out of them, and have Halloween be something fun for them. And that's what we did. And then it was the Windsor Police came to us and said, hey, we want to be involved, and we think this could be something good for Special Olympics. And that was one of their programs. And it's crazy how all this stuff came together, and not one of it was like deliberately set. It just kind of organically happened. It was a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Sarah, over to you, and talking about open air.
Okay. So open air is an open street event in Amherstburg. So we close the streets down to vehicular traffic, and the businesses come into the streets. That's been happening since 2020. Of course, it started up because of COVID, and everybody needed a way to extend their businesses, be in a safe area, which is why we called it open air. It made it feel clean and accessible to everyone, right? So, yes, that started in 2020. And then the atmosphere that it created was just beautiful. And the all the people were coming and enjoying the open streets. You're having your dinner out on the street, and the bars are out there, and all our restaurants. And it just was a way of people coming together. And we didn't want to stop it. So we continued it every year. We've toyed with the footprint of it and the schedule of it since then, but ever since 2023, we now have a set map. So it's just like a 1 block radius that is closed to vehicles. And it happens from Friday at 3 p.m. till Sunday at 8 p.m. And it happens for 14 weeks. So we're starting up May 30th this week, and we go all the way till Labor Day weekend. Um, we have so much programming that we put into the streets. Not only are the businesses out there, but we bring in a bunch of programming. So we're lucky enough that this 1 block radius is right up against the Kings Navy Yard Park, which is a picturesque, gorgeous waterfront park. So in there we have yoga in the park, and we have musicians. In the streets, we have busking musicians. We book the busking musicians, but we make sure it's a busking opportunity so that there's more interaction, which is fabulous. We have historic docent tours, which we started up last year because we are a historic town, War of 1812 community. So we have a group of a dozen docents who are volunteers that we have trained on this historical tour, and they dress up in costume and they walk along the Kings Navy Yard Park, and they tell the history of Amherstburg. So it's free to the public, and it adds that historical aspect to open air. This year, we're starting chess classes in the streets. We bring in a chess tournament that brings in 70 families that normally wouldn't come, and they're all supporting the businesses within this open air footprint, as well as, of course, like in their surrounding areas. This year, we're also implementing what's called coffee and culture, where in front of different coffee shops, because Amherstburg's getting a ton of coffee shops and bakeries all of a sudden. We're going to have different cultural experts within our community do little presentations, like 5-minute presentations in front of the coffee shops and implement once they do the presentation, then the idea is just sit here, have a coffee, let's talk about the awesomeness of Amherstburg and the history there, and let's talk about this more in depth. It's just really giving people an opportunity. As I said, there's a lot going on. It's a lot to coordinate, but what we do is we work with all these downtown businesses. We meet with them, we update them on everything we have planned, see what they want to add to enhance the themes of the weekend, or, showcase what they can do that adds to the culture of Amherstburg and the open air footprint. And we do
Probably one of your most proactive partners is the bookstore too.
Oh, yes, yes. We are very lucky to have the Petty family here in Amherstburg, and they have some wonderful investments they've made in Amherstburg, and the bookshop being one of them, as well as an awesome candy store. And Amherstburg's really reviving itself. The downtown core is really expanding on businesses. We got a Beaver Tails now, just goes to show how touristy we are. So that was a real feather in our caps when that came. And what we do to support these businesses is we try to continue all the communication, make sure they know what we're doing and we know what they're doing. And we have like a QR system. So we have QR codes all over the town that people can scan, and it says, okay, what's going on in Amherstburg this week? So we update that so people know where to go, what to do.
And that's how you're getting your data.
Yes. So
Yes.
last year we got really good with the data. It's always been a major challenge for us because we are a gate-free community. There isn't anywhere that's gated. Everything's free. So it's been hard to do that. So what we have come up with last year, I made a little list. So you'll see me look into the side because I wanted to make sure to get this right. So every week we do like this daily data sheet where we outline the weather and how many businesses were outside, all this kind of stuff, what would have affected the data. But we also had 3 times a day, same time every single day, we did click counts at the major footprints. So there's major entryways into our area. So there's 4 entryways. So we did some math on all of that. We do business surveys and we do visitor surveys. And then all of that, of course, goes into the TRIUM report so that we can figure out the economic impact on our economy. And it seems to really be working well for us.
Oh, you're on mute, Darren. Darren, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Sarah. Now let's head up to Donnie and Hogs for Hospice.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'll tell you a little bit about Hogs for Hospice. 2015, a few of my friends that we grew up with, Leamington, at one time we had a Leamington Tomato Fest, and we were known for being the tomato capital of Canada. Heinz had closed in 2013, kind of put a damper on things, and the festival of the Tomato Fest had died out. And we were kind of in search of like our town needs something. It needs something different. At that time, we had built a local hospice in the area, and it was in need of fundraising as well. So an idea was born, and it was called Hogs for Hospice. So our goal was to obviously raise money for hospice, but also to bring people to the area and showcase that Leamington just wasn't a tomato town. We had way more to offer, Point Pelee National Park, wine country, great beaches, beautiful waterfront. So a tourism aspect was kind of put into play. Like, how do we bring people to the area and showcase it, raise money, also have our community make money and our partners that we partner with make money? So we focused on the motorcycle aspect of things. We have some great roads, some great windy roads along the lake, and lots to showcase. So that's kind of how we started. And it's evolved into what it is today. It's our 10th year. Um, we have over 30 to 40,000 people come through the weekend. Our concerts are sold out every week, every night. It's just turned into an awesome event. And we partnered with different organizations like the Kinsmen and the Lions Club and local churches and kids clubs so that they too could also have an opportunity to be successful. So things like the Kinsmen, they help run our the Lions Clubs run the pancake breakfast, which they make money for their organizations. So it kind of began as, just an idea, but it's turned into a movement and a brand actually as well. People wearing our logos and our apparel, and it's just gone crazy, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, like, the impact it's had on our community has been fantastic. Like, we do it every weekend of the long weekend, civic long weekend in August or late July. The hotels are busy, the restaurants are busy, the tourism jumps. We take a organized ride of over 1,000 motorcycles through Point Pelee National Park and showcase our national park. Then we ride along the wine country and showcase, Erie North and the wineries. So it's been a great journey, and it's continuing to be a great journey, and the support from the Ontario, you guys, and in the festival side of things, and even our local governments, municipalities. It's just turned into a different type of event. Most events in southwestern Ontario were always based on what agricultural food you had, whether it's Strawberry Fest or this or that, and we kind of we lost that identity a little bit with the Heinz closure and all that, and we kind of reinvented it to something different. And I think that's why it's been kind of successful in some ways. We just adapted and moved. And even during COVID, like, we couldn't have a festival, but we continued, through 50/50 draws and doing different types of rides, and we kept the brand alive. And we actually did really well as an organization during those years. Gather, but they still came and spent. So when we do a demographics, we've done studies and we worked with different groups to help us get data. We're drawing from Montreal, Toronto, Northern Michigan, Ohio, as far as Texas, California. A lot of our ticket sales come through Toronto area. It's probably about 20% of our ticket sales for our concerts come from Toronto, another 10-15 from as far as Montreal. So we are drawing like large crowds from farther than just our 1 hour circumference, because it is kind of difficult. Amherstburg and Windsor as well, you'll feel it. Like, we don't have 360 degrees around us to draw from. We have a lake, so we have 180 to draw from. And sometimes that's difficult, right? Because if you're well centered and you have a 360 radius of draw circle, it's a lot easier maybe to get people to come. But we don't have that. But at the end of the day, if you build an event that is different, you can draw from the 3-4 hour range, right? And we spent a lot of time going to Toronto and showcasing the event at motorcycle events during the winter, any of the bike shows and stuff, and really focused on making people aware that Leamington exists and that we are a great place and we have a lot to offer. And the tourism industry in southwestern Ontario, Windsor and Amherstburg and Harrow, has really grown, in 10 years. And it's because of all these events, not just ours. It's everybody, thinking outside of the box and working together, whether you're having a festival in Kingsville or Leamington or whatever. The more we have going on, the more people come. They find out about everybody's event, and they come maybe different weekends as well. And that was kind of the goal of what we wanted to just don't come to our event, come back. You know what I mean? Come back and support, the Kingsville restaurants, because they have a great restaurant, cluster, and come back and see our wineries. Come back and visit Point Pelee National Park on birding season. So that's our goal, to continue to, support tourism in our industry, in our area, and also raise money for our local hospice and healthcare. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm here for you. And thanks for
Okay,
having.
yeah, thanks, Donnie. We're gonna circle back to questions a little bit later. Let's go up the lake to Denny and Blenheim.
Everyone, thanks for having us. So this year is our second year of our anniversary concert series. So funny enough, 5 years ago, this year we had to launch on Canada Day, July 1st, because we needed cash flow. We had 9,000 cans that we canned up in the back room, and we had to open the next day, Canada Day. Kind of worked out really well because a lot of people are off on Canada Day, right? So we opened the doors, and the community sold out all of our product in 2 days. Moving on to our 5th year anniversary, we want to do things bigger and better. So we have this anniversary concert series. So last year is our first time we did this. It's a 2-day celebration of entertainment, of community, of music, of culture, of food. Last year we had 400 people that bought tickets for this event. It was on the big new stage we have in CK, the SL100, which is a huge concert size stage. And it was successful. It was really well, a lot of good feedback for it. And being this is our 5th year anniversary this year, we wanted to make it bigger and better because I like to do that around here. So what we did this year, being that we're celebrating our 5th year, is we wanted to up the capacity, but obviously we're rural. We don't have as much parking as we want for having this type of event. So there's a few new things we added this year, such as shuttle bus traveling. So first of all, this event is sold out. What happened was we launched it as a mystery headliner. So we put it on sale to the public. This is our 5th year anniversary concert. And we're not telling you who it is until it's sold out. Kind of a concept that we worked with here inside the barn for some of our shoulder season tourism. We sold out in less than 2 weeks. So we got to finally announce who was coming. So we are hosting the Trews. So if you know Trews, they're a Canadian-wide rock band that has been successful for, probably 25 years now. And they're going to be the headliner at the anniversary concert series. So 1,300 tickets. And like I said, the shuttles, it's a whole logistic kind of nightmare, but we're working through it. When you bought your ticket, you had to decide if you were going to be riding in from Chatham or you're going to be riding in from a location that we were able to find in Blenheim. So you drive your vehicle, you hop on a bus, you get your wristband, and then it's streamlined to come into the festival. So this is the first time we've tried this kind of amount of people at the same time. We've had events where we've had, 5,000 to 6,000 people on site, but over the day. So this is to have 1,300 people at one time. It's a little challenge for me, but it's gonna be fun. And then the next day is our anniversary on July 1st. So this anniversary concert series on June 30th. The next day is Welcome to the Public, July 1st. We have a massive vendor market by Locally Unique. So we'll have about 40 vendors out for that. Entertainment all day, food trucks, music, and just a lot of fun with local community. But also now we're pulling in people from Amherstburg, Windsor, London, Toronto. I've seen some tickets come in from Ottawa. So it's pretty neat to see that we were reaching out further than our normal area.
Okay, and I love the surprise element, like buy a ticket, you don't know who, and people are loving it. And I know some people that have gone to your, inside the brewery events, and they're like, I don't even know who's going to play tonight, but I'm going to go and I'm going to, enjoy it. So that's a great little twist to your planning.
Yeah, and I think that's like the whole experience of it. It's more than just a concert. It's an experience in itself that you don't even know what's going to happen. This one's a little bit different than our normal mystery concerts where you don't know inside until you come on the stage. But this one is great because now people are hyped leading up to the event.
Yeah, and great you can sell that many tickets that quickly too. Huge growth from last year.
It was crazy.
Yeah. All right, Dave, there's our 4 feature festivals. I'll turn it back to you, and I guess Troy then is going to take over. So Dave, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And it's so encouraging to hear from 4 great festivals who are all thinking outside of the box, They're thinking about shoulder seasons. They're thinking about tourism, which we're trying to get all of our members really to get that tourism mindset that you're bringing people into your area. And part of that bringing people into your area is how do you keep them in that area longer? And that's where our friend Troy helps us out. So Troy Young from Attractions Ontario. You've got a few regions here, a few areas. Some people are coming for these festivals, Troy. What are some attractions that are down in the area that they can extend their stay and, maybe make a full weekend or come down for a whole week?
Well, thanks, Dave. Before I get into the attractions, I also want to mention Carousel of Nations Festival in Windsor, which is coming up in June. Another great festival there. I love Windsor. I think it's a great town. And I think that whole tip of southern Ontario is probably one of the more livable places in Ontario. I've been down to Kingsville, down to Leamington. These are great towns. Great opportunities for people to get out and see some of the things that are down in that area. But I want to look at the breadth of Region 1 because Region 1 is huge. And this is funny, Dave. This is now the second one of these I've done with one of my board members on it. Last time it was Dave MacNeil from Northern Ontario, and now it's Joanne, who's on my board as well. Hey, Joanne. Good to see you. But there's some great outdoor stuff. Joanne mentioned that too, and people don't necessarily think about outdoor product when you're thinking about Southwestern Ontario. But you got those great beaches. You've got Long Point Eco Adventure down near St. Williams, and that goes along with the wineries. I mean, the Burning Hill Winery right across the street from Long Point Eco Adventures, and all the wineries down along the Lake Erie North Shore. Some great ones in and around Harrow and down, of course, near Windsor and Pelee Island. But talking about doing the outdoor activities, like I said, at Long Point Eco Adventure, you've also got Bowler Mountain in London. I'd like to talk about London. Because as far as attractions go, London is kind of the center point. That when you think about tourist attractions, your typical tourist attractions, you've got East Park there, the water park in London. You got classics like Storybook Gardens. The Factory in London is amazing. Great spot to go if you want, just to climb on stuff and do all sorts of indoor activities. But lots of great things. And then you've even got the museums, right? Like down in Elgin County, you got the Elgin County Railroad Museum, you've got the Moore Museum. And for baseball fans, St. Mary's, let's not forget the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So there is a lot of stuff to do and see in and around Region 1 beyond just the festivals. I mean, the festivals are great. The festivals help you encourage when travel occurs. And they may be a niche festival that appeals to somebody that brings them down to an area they otherwise wouldn't have visited. But yeah, it's the attractions that will keep them, the attractions that will help extend that stay and give them something to do when the festival is complete. So happy to be here to talk about some of the great festivals and attractions that are in Region 1.
And I think another thing we haven't talked about is in the area, a lot of great camping opportunities, a lot of great resorts, bed and breakfast, hotel options. So your stay and play is well covered for whatever type of stay and play you like to do.
Oh, exactly. And it was mentioned earlier about how easy it is to get around Region 1 and how it's really not that far. I mean, when you think about it, Windsor is a 4.5 hour drive from Toronto. But I would be remiss to not mention Via Rail. Via Rail is a great asset for Region 1, getting down to Woodstock, getting down to London, getting down to Windsor. I mean, I think the majority of times that I've made it to Windsor, it's been on Via Rail. But also, if you don't want to take the whole time to take that train down, which I think you're missing out because it's a great experience. I mean, if you're coming from Toronto down to Windsor, Porter, right out of the island, can get you into Windsor in just over an hour. So there is multitude of ways to get there, whether you're driving, whether you want to take the train, or whether you want to fly. Like, let's not forget that as well. So we've got some great partners that'll help move you around the province. and a lot of great things to see and do in this province.
And Joanne, we talk about this year being a staycation again, people staying home, but in reality, what kind of interest are you getting from our American friends? Because you do border a lot of American cities and see that influx of tourism. What are you predicting for this year?
It's hard to make an exact prediction because certainly every year seems to be different the last couple of years, but we're in market in our near border states. We're in market almost every season this year, just about. It is really a very important market for us. To invite our US travelers. And from what we're seeing from the data, we're hopeful that we're not going to see a big change. We do anticipate, an influx in domestic travel, to your point. We know that people are really interested in staying in Canada. We know that people want to stay in Ontario and move around and see things they've not seen before. And then also we know the dollar exchange rates are going to impact that as well too from a domestic perspective. It's hard to say yet. I haven't seen any current numbers that is telling us what the visitation numbers look like, but I have talked to a couple operators and have heard some different responses. Some that have said, we haven't seen the return of US travelers to the degree that they were used to maybe 5 years or so ago. And then I'm also hearing some that are saying, no big changes. So it's a variety, or it varies, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I don't have any key numbers, but just rather that we are excited to welcome, our neighbors back into Ontario Southwest to move around and just enjoy some of the amazing attractions, events, things that are going on across the region. We know that there's a really good match, and we do have a couple border crossings in Sarnia, Windsor, Pelee Island, and we're about 45 minutes from Niagara as well. So we do anticipate to continue to see those US travelers.
And Darren mentioned it, the cycling, especially down in that flat region of Ontario. And even in around the Turkey Point and Dover, I'm seeing a lot more cycle rides on the roads, and it is really great communities to cycle around in. Lots of distance between stops, if you will.
Absolutely.
Donnie mentioned it as well, like with the motorcycles. It's a motorcycle haven with all of the winding, beautiful roads. And I'm thinking of Dover on the 13th. But you're constantly seeing groups of motorcycles in and around the area, going from destination to destination. So
Absolutely.
there's a great example of what's going on in Ontario Southwest, just a fantastic region. 4 great festivals we've talked about. Troy has talked about some excellent ideas for alternate attractions and places to stay. Anybody in our audience have any questions? We'll just open it up to questions before we wrap it up. And I'm not seeing any, which means we've all done our jobs well. Again, I just want to say thank you to Joanne, thank you, Darren, thank you, Sarah, thank you, Denny, thank you, Donnie, and thank you, Troy, and thank you, everybody who dropped into this edition of FEO on the Air and Experience Ontario. Ontario Southwest, a beautiful part of the province. If you haven't experienced it, you're missing out and you need to get down there. So thank you all for joining us. Next week, Deb Mann will be hosting FEO on the Air, and it will be a master class. And joining her will be Safeguard Perimeter, and they're going to talk about hostile vehicle management. Unfortunately, with the events in Vancouver and New Orleans and Toronto a number of years ago, we all have to think about keeping our patrons safe, and vehicle blockades and protections has become a really important part of that. So join Deb next week as the people from Safeguard Perimeter join her on FEO on the Air. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you all next week as we talk on FEO on the Air.
Thanks for listening to FEO on the Air, the voice of festivals and events in Ontario.